Hello everybody. I've been working on some glaze testing from mostly Minnesota Clay Company. As you can see, when you order 1 pound of glaze, you will get the glaze in these convenient little, they're actually not that little, but they're nice sturdy plastic containers. So they're kind of convenient. Of course, you do pay for that. I mean, they're a little bit more than other glaze samples will cost from other companies. I think these range probably something like between $5 and $8, maybe something like that. So I ordered a bunch because they do have a lot of earth tones, and I've been trying to get some earth tones added into my glazes. So I've also made some glazes recently, and I'll probably do another video on those. But for now, these are the Minnesota clay glazes that I have, and some of them I've had for a while, but I got some new ones. So right here is sage, and you can see on the label that their firing ranges are kind of different than what I'm used to. So these, you know, not all are going to be that firing range. So cone 6 to 8 is recommended for sage, and I know it's a little dark in here, but we can kind of get an idea of it. It's pretty much showing up accurately on camera. It's kind of green gold, and it's not real attractive. I have a feeling that at a higher cone, because I did cone 6, that's my usual, and I have a really light cone 6 that I do, so it's really cone 5 held for 15 minutes, and I do get a cone 6 from that, but it's like a really light cone 6. So I have a feeling that if you were to go to cone 8 with this, it probably would look more like the sample that they provide on their website. I have 2 clays that I tested on, and I just did some really crude little testers this time, but my usual clay, Desert Buff, both are from high water clay, and this one is just brownstone, and that's of course high water clay as well. So neither one of these are speckled, and you can see that this glaze dripped a lot. I have a feeling that I should have mixed most of these glazes a little thinner than what I did. So I may retest them just to see if it does make a difference, because it should not drip anywhere near that much, especially at cone 6. So sage is kind of a green gold, kind of not a real attractive brown, you know, kind of green. And you can see where it crawled. That's another sign that it was too thick, probably. So that's green gold. And over to Copperhead. This is a really funky brown. It ran a lot. Now you can see here on the fire range of Copperhead, it's 5 to 8. So again, I did cone 6, and you should never get running like that. I mean, at the lower range of the glaze, it shouldn't run like that. But it has a mottled texture. Kind of, it's going to be hard to see probably, and probably really won't focus on it, but there's kind of like an orange speckling that's in there as well. It's not a real attractive glaze. I was kind of surprised at how ugly it was when I first saw it. It's just, I don't know, a lot going on, and the orange kind of threw me. I didn't think it would have orange in it. If I had a little more light, you might be able to see it better, but it's kind of looks pretty much the same, I believe, it on the camera as it does in person. So this is Nebula, and Nebula is described as a slip glaze. So probably something similar to like Albany slip. They have a range of glazes, and they say that the slip glazes are really good for layering. So you might want to put these type of glazes over something else. I was hoping to maybe be able to use it on its own as well. I think, once again, too thick. I have to thin it down a little bit because it ran a lot. It's kind of cool because it may be a glaze that picks up texture really well. It's a kind of a gray green that breaks to brown. Pretty much looks like it did on their website, but again, it crawled. So I'm gonna try thinning that down, and that's a cone 5 to 8 on that one. So Nebula is a glaze for layering, and I did a little bit of testing with that. As we go further down, I'll show you that. Espresso, this actually was the glaze that kind of started it for me, because I wanted to add in a speckled kind of tan glaze. I'm kind of disappointed with this, at least on the clay bodies that I have. It may need to be a little thinner, but it's kind of just has a heaviness to it. It's more like an oatmeal glaze. It doesn't look as brown as I thought it would. It's kind of hoping for like a sand color, and it's just kind of like a, I don't know, it's got a little bit of a gray brown look to it, which may not come through the camera that well. It's just not as attractive as I had hoped it would be, and that's a cone 5 to 9. So now this one will even go up to 9. So that's kind of interesting how much of a range their glazes have. So they are versatile, but I don't love that one. Probably not going to get that one. I was kind of hoping that that would be the one, but that's how it goes. Now light blue, this is cone 5 to 8. Light blue, I have had this for a while now. I had high hopes for this one. When I first used it, it has much more of a purple look in person. It kind of does look light blue through the camera, but in person it's really more of like a lavender purple. There's kind of a lot of glazes out there like this. Usually they are described as a light blue or, you know, Arctic blue, that kind of color. It's just not for me. It's too purpley. I don't think it would be something that I would want, but unfortunately it's not going to work for me. So that one's not for me, but I kind of do like this green, which is a little dark on camera, so hopefully it's not coming through as dark as what I'm seeing, but in person it is a more vivid green. I like it quite a bit because their glazes have kind of like a modeling effect. Most of them kind of seem to have it. I don't know if you can just pick that up there, but it does have a really interesting look to it in person. It's got this kind of like modeling stripes through it, which is kind of nice. And with all of these testers, it's one full dip and then a second dip on top. So I don't know. I think maybe the one dip is plenty for this one. Looks better on buff clay than it does on brown. It's kind of dark on brown, and that's kind of like what the camera's picking up. So that one's kind of interesting to me because I do need a better green than what I have. So I tested Nebula over this metallic green. So Nebula actually did really provide, just like they say, the kind of pulling and running. And of course, once I thin Nebula down, I'm going to really retest it. But it did a lot. I mean, this could be versatile just to put like on the rim of a mug. You could put, you know, the Nebula slip glaze on the rim. And that's all I really did here. I think I only did it to about there. And it pulled way down and got a lot of texture and kind of interesting look there. So that is kind of cool. So I have been looking for glazes that will do that other than just like white. I wanted something that would pull down and give like a texture. I tested it on brown too, so this is the same Nebula over metallic green there as well. So you can kind of see that there is some potential there, and they have a bunch of those slip glazes other than just Nebula. So might be something to look into if you're trying to find some glazes for layering. So floating blue. Now this is an interesting fire range of cone 4 to 8. And of course I'm doing 6, so I'm like right in the middle there. Floating blue is kind of interesting to me because, you know, I've looked at recipes for it and you don't really see a lot of them commercially made. And I guess, I don't know, I've read that they have a tendency to gel, you know, like after you mix them up, but this has not done that. I've had this glaze for quite a while now. I've had it maybe a year. Kind of coming back to it because I like the idea of a floating blue in that really what you do is you double dip it. You do the first dip fully, and then all of this lighter blue here on top is the double dip. So you kind of get the feeling of two glazes even though it's one glaze. So that's kind of an interest to me because I do like the idea of getting a lot out of one glaze if you possibly can. And it looks pretty good on both clays, but I think it looks its best on Desert Buff, which is the main clay that I use. A little bit dark on the brown clay. And it's kind of more of an earth tone blue. It's not real vivid. It's kind of subtle. I think it would be nice for mugs and just anything that you wanted to have be blue, but not be like overwhelmingly blue that people, you know, if you're going to sell it, it's something that would have to match. I think it would kind of go with everything. You can, any bathroom, you could put that in. Any kitchenware that you do, it would probably would fit right in. Seems to also show texture really well, even with the double coat. So I'm probably going to end up getting floating blue from them at the very least, and maybe that metallic green. I tried Nebula over floating blue. It pulled a lot, so pretty good texture. So that Nebula glaze I could see being kind of interesting, even though it was sort of ugly on its own. But it did a lot of pulling on both of the clays, and too much there, it dripped. So once I thin that Nebula down, I might retry that. And just as a reminder, Nebula looked like that. It's a gray-green kind of pulling glaze. So that is it for the Minnesota clay testers. You know, mixed results. It's always mixed results. You can get like 10 glazes and then maybe like 2 of them. So I also tried some of the ceramic shop glazes. I've had these for a while. This is the only one that I'm going to show here today, called Astral Blue. I think, you know, I've been trying to find different shades of blue, so I have kind of a variety of blues. And you can compare this to the floating blue that we just saw, and the big difference of those two blues there. Astral Blue is nice. It seems to be pretty stable and reliable. I've done quite a few testers of this because, you know, I've changed my firing schedule around, and I've decided, you know, to try testing some of these glazes over again just to see. It's actually a very vivid kind of denim blue and seems to be pretty reliable. I'm not too sure about it, only because I do have a blue that I'm already using. I don't have any samples of it, but it's kind of similar to a blue that I already have, so I'm not sure that I would bother with this. But for anybody who wanted a blue glaze that was nice and bright and reliable, this might be a good option. So that's Astral Blue by the Ceramic Shop, and that's cone 6 only. So that's it. So if anybody has any questions about that, just leave a comment. And I will do some more glaze testing videos and show some of the other results that I have. Thanks for watching.